So somebody was saying something again about choose your own reality, and I know I've talked about that in the past, kind of like it's a choose your own adventure 3D video game that you've somehow found yourself popped into, and maybe the rules of the game, dictate that you forget that you're playing a game. Yes, that's a possibility. All possibilities are possibilities. And that may very well could be it, and it's just an infinitely complex choose your own reality game. Or you could say that that's what life is an infinitely complex choose your own reality game. If you have no recollection of choosing to come in the game in the first place, or how you got in this particular arena or realm, then you don't know. And that's a dangerous thought experiment. Not to say that it's not legitimate. Maybe that's the most brave possible approach one could take to it, because it's a risk. And for instance, I choose my own reality. I'll be a king. I'll have a kingdom and rule over, I don't know, a couple million people, maybe a few 100,000, maybe a few thousand. I don't know, whichever you want. And the thing is if you compare it to what we have going on here in terms of video games, which are also getting more complex as we move forward. With video games, the rule set is visible, not convoluted. The players agree on it for the most part, and resets happen every few hours, maybe every few days if you're playing some campaign or something. Months, I don't know. I know it extends out, but it's a reasonable reset period. Not something that goes back millions of years and you're recalled or perceived or thought about extension of your mind. That's not it. If that's a game, then that's just the game that God's playing. That's not some construct within the whole, as far as I'm concerned. And as well, if you look around at the amount of, at the very minimum, mental angst and suffering and suppression that the majority of the population seems to be going through, if not some form of zombieism or sleepwalking. If you look at that, then compare that to a choose your own reality game and ask yourself who would choose that. And if somebody did choose that, then where are they, and how can we talk to them and let them know, like, you chose like your choice sucked for everybody else who's here, who's sharing it. And then you have to say, well, if it is a choose your own reality, is it multiplayer? Is it just me? Is it this? Is it that? And if you don't have the answers, then you're playing with fire. That's my perspective on it. And also, if it was something like that, where there weren't larger repercussions other than, say, losing the game and getting booted out and then remembering that you were in the game, assuming those were not assuming those were the only repercussions, still, even in this arena, if you choose to somehow try to be a king and that starts happening around you and all of that, then this reality seems to be such that you would have to go through all the things that the king goes through, that you've heard about in stories with kings. And kings are not the happiest of people, and as Alan Watts has said many times, they have to sit with their back to the door, and they've got all kinds of property and possessions and land boundaries that must be protected and guarded, and they're living in fear for the most part that all of their people and wealth will either be destroyed or pillaged by another kingdom. Because if you're playing a king, then I promise you someone else is going to pop up that's playing, your adversary. And if that's your thing, then maybe that's your thing, but it goes back to if you don't know that you're playing a game, and if it's simply life itself, and you allow your minions to go around doing horrible things, then you're going to be responsible for that. And I don't know if I thought it was a game is necessarily going to cut it when it comes to your own life review, because it's not, I don't feel it's going to be like a deity or something giving holy life reviews. It's going to be your own self. Like, you're going to be able to really quickly go over it, see everything you did and said, how you affected everyone else who was in it, and you know, you'll learn from all of that. And do you want to have a life review where you became a king and attained all kinds of material possessions and destroyed lots of other territories and killed players and whatnot? Would you want to come to a sort of life review and say, yeah, that's what I did? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. I can answer it for myself and say no, and I can say for myself that if it's a game, it's a horribly mismanaged game, and no game should have that much, you know, upside downness in it, that much needless suffering, this and that. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. At least those are my current thoughts on the it's a choose your own reality sim or something. Doesn't seem like it to me. It does seem very personal as far as having a body and looking outward. Seems personal in that sense, and not so much like a collective of billions of self-aware individuals. It's something different than that, but it doesn't seem so much, oh, let's just play this 3D game and we'll have a go at it. It seems slightly more serious than that. And when I say slightly, I mean a lot. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Peace.